Glenn Haynes, which would be
His father-in-law,
no, it'd be his brother-in-law,
brother-in-law, okay.
and
So your father's name was what?
James.
Oh, James
James
Phillips, same as
yeah.
your older brothers.
Yeah,
And what was your mother's maiden name?
White.
First name?
Neen, N-E-E-N.
Oh, that's pretty.
Yeah.
Is that shortened from something?
It was shortened from an uncle and some other relation. I can't
Really?
remember
Wow.
what it was. It was Uncle Nevin and Aunt Lena, I think
Oh,
it was.
for heaven's sake. Well, she had a very unique name. Did
yeah.
she like it? Do you remember?
Well, I don't think she did because everybody called her Neen instead of Nevelina, so it was
Her given name was Nevelina?
Nevelina.
That's pretty too. Very different.
Yeah.
Okay, so your father and his brother-in-law Glenn.
Glenn.
Okay.
Glenn Haynes. Yeah.
Okay.
And they worked here. That they came up from West Branch, and I think Uncle Glenn went to work for the river here in town.
Oh. Okay.
But prior to that, they were with the Forestry Division up in Newberry, Michigan.
Was that federal?
And that was federal. And
Both of them, Glenn and James?
yes, both
Okay.
of them. And also my Grandpa White.
What was his name? Do you remember?
Charles.
Charlie White.
Yeah, Charlie White.
Okay.
And when they came back, they were over to the Houghton Lake Forest Reserve over Houghton Lake. So they were kind of drawn to this area when different jobs and different things.
So all three of them up in Newberry had worked for the Forest Service?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we're out at Deer Park there at Lake Muskellon's Lake Park there.
Okay.
And they were there for a few years, and then when they came back, they Glenn at that time had married Murr, and then they settled here in Roscommon.
Okay.
And then my dad and them and my mother, they moved to Detroit, and he went to work for Chevrolet experimentals down
Where
there.
were they married? Where were they when they were married?
Dad was married and Mom were married in Cleveland, Ohio.
Okay.
I guess probably
Was that before the Newberry stuff?
that was after.
After, okay.
No, wait. I'll take that back, because,
That's okay.
yeah. And the White, Charles White and Grandpa and Grandma White.
What was her name?
Gertrude.
Gertrude. Okay. I just made this little chart so I can keep it straight in my
Yeah,
head.
okay. I was trying to think, there was 3 girls in the White family.
Okay.
Murr and Neen and Della,
Was that the order?
and that was the order.
Okay.
And Della, Dad married Della, and they had Jim,
Oh,
brother
okay.
Jim,
So Jim is really your half brother.
is my half brother.
Okay. That happened a lot in the older days, I think.
Right. Well, it was like when the flu epidemic came through, and Della died from the flu. At that time, James was only about like 2 years old, and so then they moved back, and they moved to West Branch, and they had a farm there. And
So how soon after Della's death did your father marry Della's sister?
probably about 3 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so then you were born in 26. About when was that Della died?
It'd be about 1918,
Uh-huh.
or not, no, it'd have to be about 1920.
Okay. Well, we'll put approximately,
Yeah.
circa. Okay.
In there, so.
Okay, so that's interesting. Okay, so they got married in Cleveland, your mother and dad. What year would that have been? In 20?
It'd
3
be
or so
about
then?
like 23.
Okay.
And then,
And what did he do in Cleveland? Or why were they just married down there because that's where she was?
he was working down there for, I can't remember where he was working at. And it was kind of strange because we were going through some old papers and we found a letter that my dad had written to my mother before they were married.
Oh.
And he was working in Cleveland. And
Wow.
so it was kind of strange that we were going through some papers and
And there was a letter.
there was a letter.
Either he or she had saved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think my mother had saved it because it was in some papers, some letters that I had written home when I was in the service.
Oh, okay.
So,
Well,
but
how nice.
we just never, you'd never seen it before.
Yeah.
It was really
Yeah.
strange.
Yeah.
So, but then most of it, after Mom and Dad, they moved to Detroit, and Dad went to work for Chevrolet down there. And
That was in the early 20s then. That must have been
Yes.
soon after the Cleveland stuff.
yeah. Even after Cleveland, they moved to Detroit there,
And that's where you were born.
and that's where I was born.
Okay, so now they're in Detroit. And how long did they stay there?
Well, till Dad passed away in 37.
Oh, okay. So when did they move up here? Or didn't they?
They didn't.
Oh, okay.
See, we were living in Detroit, and when Dad died, Murr and Glenn, we moved in. They came down and moved us up. At that time, Glenn was caretaker at Flag Point Cabins out the lake.
Oh. That's neat. And they moved you in with them?
And we lived with Murr and Glenn and Cousin Betty there for a year or so out at the lake.
Oh, how nice.
And then
Do you have fond memories of that?
very fun because there was no, I don't know what you want to say, there was just, they accepted us and we were just one big family and
Sure.
they took care of us.
So when you came up here to live with Glenn and his wife, and Elizabeth was a young, well, she was a teenager by then.
Right.
But how old were June and Margaret?
Margaret wasn't,
Well, when was
Margaret
June
was,
born?
June was born in 27.
Oh, right after you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Margaret was born in 1937.
Well, right when your father died.
Yeah.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
Yeah, my father died in January, and Margaret was born in September. So.
Wow, that had to be hard for your mother.
Yeah, it was kind of.
Wow.
But
And she was born in September. Wow. So when you came up here, you were
I was.
11 years old.
Yeah,
And your sister was 10,
Yeah.
and there was a newborn baby.
yeah.
My
So
goodness.
it was kind
Or
of.
was she born up here, Margaret?
Yes, Margaret was born here. She was
Oh.
born down in what used to be the old Prince House. I don't know. As you crossed Robinson Creek going down 5th Street, there's the old Rutledge House, and then there was a little
Yeah.
white house right there. Well, she was born there.
Really?
And
Was it a midwife place or something, or was it just someone they knew, or what?
no, we rented that house. We moved from Murr and Glenn's. We moved in there
Okay.
to start on our own.
Oh,
And
okay. Wow.
so we were there. I can't remember how long we lived there, but Margaret was born there. Doc Marks was a doctor.
Mhm.
Came down. He was just up the street there.
Yeah,
So-
sure. For heaven's
So it was
sake.
kind of.
I guess I don't know which house you mean, but I guess it doesn't matter.
It's, used to be the Pearsall House, the stone house that's right, sits right along the river there,
Oh, right on the creek.
right on the creek.
Oh, okay.
And this little white house is right across the road from it.
Oh, okay.
And then there's the White House was Stuart Rutledge's built that in the creek. It's
Okay.
right there.
Oh, all right. Okay, now I think I know where you mean. So did you stay there quite, is that where you spent the rest of your childhood then?
No, we stayed there for about I would say roughly a year, and then we moved to Winnie Math, where Winnie Matheson used to live.
On
Like
Fourth
back of the,
Street,
yeah, back of the.
behind McWilliams, Dwayne McWilliams, or 2 houses back from there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, it was, yeah, 2 houses down from Dwayne
Yeah,
McWilliams.
okay.
And we lived there for a year. Then we bought, it was, Murray and Glenn owned the farm south of town where the Roscommon lumber is now.
Oh, okay.
Okay, there was that old house there. That used to set right up where the road is.
Oh,
And when they built the highway, they moved the road back, or the house back.
oh, for heaven's sake.
So there, but that, we moved up there. Probably about 1940, 41.
Really? So you were still a teenager at home?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
And then, yeah, we lived there and we had cows and pigs. And,
So were you kind of, did your mother, how did she have for her income, or did she?
well, brother Jim worked, and we worked, and I guess I never really understood how
Yeah,
Mom
I
made
bet
it.
I bet it was a struggle for her.
It was a struggle
Sure.
because we had
But the aunt and uncle were here to help.
they were there to help, and they helped us an awful lot while we were young. So
Okay.
it was kind of neat.
Well, yeah, that was kind of neat. So when you came up here, you were already, like, in what grade were you in? What?
I think
did you
about the
start
5th grade.
Fifth grade.
5th grade in
Mhm.
school. I remember. Well, Mary Walker came that. I think Mary Walker came that year she was our music teacher,
Yeah,
and
that was her first year, I think.
I think it was.
Yeah, she's
So
37.
it was kind of. She was a neat little teacher.
Yeah, I bet she
Yeah.
was.
But
She still has a fair amount of energy. We're talking about Mary Lockery.
yeah, so it was kind. And then we stayed. We all managed to go to school there, and then I'm trying to think. As time we picked up odd jobs,
Mm-hmm.
and I went to work in the post office. I think when I was in the 11th grade.
Did you really?
Yeah. So I worked in there until I went in the Army.
Good for you.
44.
Was that, at that time now, was that a civil job, or was that still appointed? I know the postmaster used to be appointed according to who won the elections.
Yeah, right. I think it was civil service. The postmaster and the clerks were civil service, I think.
Oh, okay.
And they had four carriers out of the office.
Oh,
And one was Frank Sherman's route, was an RFD, which was, I don't want to say, like appointed or something. The rest of them, the routes were bidded on. I mean, the
Oh.
person bid how much he could carry the route for.
by every year, did they have a new contract?
I think about yeah,
Hmm.
it would come up, so.
At that time, when you started to work at the post office, where was it located?
Right alongside the railroad tracks where the resale shop
Sabo
is.
Exchange is today.
Yeah,
Okay, so it was there quite a long time.
yeah.
We have some early pictures, we think, from the 1924, so and that's where it says post office on the awning.
It was, that was the new building that was built there. The building that's next to Green's Tavern, now that little building, there used to be a little bit, and that was the post office at one time. And
Okay.
it was moved from where the railroad, where the present one, or the
Where the Oxford exchange is.
exchanges. And
They moved that next to Green's
they
on
moved that
Fifth
next,
Street.
yeah.
Oh, for heaven's sakes.
And then they built the post office there, and then I worked there for, I think, yeah.
Well, like, did they build a new post office while you were working there?
No. No, it was built, they must have built that about 1941 or something in there. 40 or 41.
The building that's there now?
Yeah. Because there was, they built the building and there was 2 apartments above. But, yeah, you were.
And there was still a post office, though, when they first built it?
Right. It was built for a
To be the post
To be
office.
the post office.
Cool.
I can't remember who owned that building. But there was, Regina Bressenham was the postmistress. And there was Frank Shervin and Elmer Carlson and Perry Bartenfelder, and they were the steady mail carriers. And the route going to Houghton Lake was a different person, it seemed like every year for some reason.
Okay. So what was your job there?
I was a clerk.
You were a clerk. So
And,
even
yeah.
when you started as a teenager, you weren't just sorting mail, you were at the desk? You were at the
No, I
window?
started sorting mail.
Oh, okay.
I sorted mail and worked part-time at the window as a clerk.
Oh, okay. Through high school then?
Yeah,
That was a pretty nice job, I would have guessed.
it was. It really helped out.
Well, sure.
And,
So your mother you stayed living in town then?
right.
Okay.
Well, we were up at we call it the farm up there by the lumberyard there, where the lumberyard is today.
Going towards St. Helen?
Yeah.
So did your
Good.
mother live there until she passed away?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay. So did she
Yeah.
own that home?
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Owned that, and she remarried guy from West Branch. He was a farmer that we'd known for quite a few years.
Well, that was nice for
Yeah.
her.
And they were able to do trips. They went
Uh-huh.
to Italy. If you-
Was this after all your sisters were raised, or were they still?
Right,
Yeah.
right.
This was later in her life.
Later, yeah. It was,
And what was his name then?
um,
Her second husband?
her second, she married, to start with, I guess we're back up, because she married Wayne Troutman, and they had a daughter, Chris Troutman,
Oh, so you have another half-sister.
and I have another half-sister.
Just the one, she just had the one daughter?
Just the one daughter, yeah.
Okay. Then did that marriage end in
That
divorce?
ended in divorce.
Okay. And then she married again?
Then she married George Thomas.
Oh, for heaven's sake. How old did your mother live to be?
74.
74.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, so
So-
you're going past all of them.
Yeah, yeah.
You're passing them all up. Oh,
Well, except my brother. My brother Jim is 92.
no kidding.
Yeah.
Wow.
He was born 1918.
Born in 1918. Yeah. Wow, isn't that something? Okay.
We kind of look up to him because,
I bet you do.
well, we go down, and you think, oh, I got this ache and I can't do this and I can't do that, and he's hopping around, just like nothing.
Where does he live?
Pigeon Forge, Tennessee.
Oh,
There.
well, how nice.
Yeah. It was up there in the mountains.
Oh, forget. Is that a retirement place? Did he live here? Did he grow up here also?
He
Well,
grew up
did.
here. Yeah, he did. And
Yeah.
then he went to, we worked together over to Rockport, over to Alpena for a couple of years.
After
Yeah,
high school?
After high school, yeah.
Mhm.
I had, after I worked, I was in the Army from 1944 to 46,
Okay, when did you, what year did you graduate from high school?
1944.
Oh, so as soon as you got out, you went?
Yeah, I enlisted in, in December 43, and then I went in the Army in 44 in the Air Corps.
So when did you work in Rockport?
After we got back from the service.
Oh.
I got out in 46, and I went back to work in the post office for about a year. And then I went to work, got a job in the oil fields. And they started drilling oil around here, so I went to work there. And then when that quit, then my brother Jim was working at Rockport. They were rebuilding that quarry over there, so.
You mean by Rogers City?
Uh,
Or is it?
north of Alpena, about 10 miles.
Is Rockport a city or a village?
It was kind of like a wide spot in the road. It was just
a settlement.
It was kind of a little settlement. It was mainly, Rockport was the quarry and the factory that was there, you know, to produce a limestone.
So when you worked there, did you live in Alpena?
Yes.
Okay.
At the time, we had bought a house trailer, and we lived in the trailer over there.
You and your brother?
And, yeah, and at that time I was married, so.
Oh, okay. And was your brother married too when you went and did
Yes,
that?
yep.
So the four of you were
Over there, yeah. So,
Okay. Neat. Well, tell us about your service years.
well, I enlisted in the Air Corps, and I was stationed in, took my basic at Shepherd Field, Texas, and then I went to Lowry Field, went to gunnery school and turret mechanic school there.
How do you spell Lowry? L-A-W-R-Y?
Lowery.
Okay.
And we took the B-29 armament, which was just starting to build those planes. And then from there I was transferred to Fort Myers, Florida. And we did gunnery practice and stuff out of Fort Myers there on B-29s and that.
Wow.
So that's where I was when the war ended.
Oh, okay. So you stayed stateside?
So I stayed stateside, yeah. So.
Oh, I have a question. So when you enlisted here in Roscommon, were there any other of your classmates that went at the same time you did?
Clifford Anderson and Junior Wyckoff. We enlisted at the time, but I was the only one that passed the physical. Maybe I shouldn't say that.
Well, no, that's
Yeah.
what happened. That's what
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you went really by yourself. from
Yeah, I
here.
went by myself from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting.
Okay.
And you were going to be a gunner on the B-29s. You would have been the person that.
Right. I was on the B-29. There was 5 turrets that we took care of, and I was the gunner on the top. It was remote control. All the guns were remote controlled, and I was the mechanic for those. So,
Was that scary for you at that time, or were you?
no,
How did you feel about all that? It had to be a lot to learn.
it was a lot to learn, and it was interesting. It
Yeah, I bet it was.
It was different.
Yeah, I
You know,
bet you
you-
were relieved that the war ended, though. Or were
Well,
you disappointed?
all your friends were overseas. They'd been over, you know, and so
Uh-huh.
you kind of wanted to go too.
Sure.
And
Sure.
so it was kind of neat.
So you were discharged from Fort Myers?
I was
Or
transferred
that's where
from,
you were?
yeah, I was transferred from Fort Myers up to Greensboro, North Carolina, which was the staging area for getting discharged.
Oh, okay.
And we went from Greensboro to Chicago, got discharged out of Chicago
Oh, okay.
in there, so.
Okay, so then, okay, when you got out of the service then, that's when you went to work then? You didn't do anything with the GI Bill?
No.
No, okay. Alrighty. And how long were you working in Alpena then, or Rockport? You just said a couple of years.
Probably about 2 years, from
Okay.
around 53 to 56, we worked over there.
So when did you come back to live here?
Well, we didn't come back here until, 1983.
Oh, well, tell us what happened in between there.
Okay. Well, after I went to work for a contractor, a road building contractor, S.J. Groves. And he was working in Flint at the time at the Ford Proving Grounds. And he also had a job on US 23. So when we finished with the Proving Grounds, we went over on 23. I was working on a paving crew.
Oh, okay.
And they were paving 23 at the time.
Where were you living?
We were living in, I was living in Oxford at the time.
Oh.
And
You lived in quite a few places in Michigan.
yeah, got around.
Okay, well, don't let me interrupt the work
Yeah,
schedule.
yeah. It, at the time, I was living in Oxford because it was a short drive over to the Proving Grounds, at the Ford Proving Grounds. And it really wasn't too far up to Flint to work.
Mm-hmm.
And while I was working there, I was told about the highway department was hiring. And so I went and took a civil service test and passed that. And that was like in October. And I started to work.
Of what year?
Of 56.
Oh, okay.
And so I started work for the state, I think in October 56. And we worked on, at that time, we moved to Howell. And we were working on 23, US 23 coming from Ann Arbor North. And we started at the Huron River Bridge and worked our way north.
Wow.
On that.
It was a big project.
It was. We did, I didn't do the original survey, but we did about 3 miles south of Brighton was the original survey we worked on. But then we did the rest of it was all under contract, the rest of it, till that point.
Wow.
And then we went from, when that was finished, we moved to, we didn't move. The family didn't. The crew moved to, we moved to Chelsea, and we started working on I-94.
Oh, wow.
So we worked on 94 till 1960, I believe it was. Then we moved back and we started working on I-96. So we worked on I-96 through there. Then moved to Lansing and did 496 through Lansing.
Oh, wow.
I-496 and that.
And all the time your family was still living in Oxford?
We just stayed in Howell because the
Howell.
kid, by that time we had
So you have 3 children?
3 children.
Okay. Can you just give me their names quick?
Yeah, and Bob was our oldest, and then Vicky, and then Jeff, and they kind of, we kept them in school there.
At the same place?
Same place, so, and it wasn't too bad of a drive,
No.
where you're working.
That worked out all right then.
Yeah. So, and then we got, from Lansing, I was transferred to Detroit. We were working on the Southfield Freeway where I-96 crosses over the Southfield. And I was there for about 3 years, I guess, working on the interchange.
Wow.
And
So how does it feel to drive over those places now?
well, it's kind of neat to think that, well, I did
gotta
this,
be-
right?
yeah.
I did that.
Sure.
We've been here, we did this.
Yeah. Because it's what you built is still there.
Yeah. Everything is still intact. I mean, they
Yeah.
haven't had to repair it yet.
Right. And the engineering must have been perfect, or it wouldn't have
Yeah.
lasted so
Yeah.
long.
It was an experience. I mean, there's so many
Sure.
different things that you encountered, like from, like you think of a tunnel, you never think too much, but the freeway, when we built we had to go down for the foundations, and they called it the Southfield Tunnel, and it's down, I think it's down like 65 feet below the ground, and the tunnel is like 30 feet in diameter, and it's all brick lined, and somebody, 100 years ago went down there and put this tunnel in there for, to get rid of the water, to get rid of the sewage.
Wow.
And we had to go down every day because we were driving piling.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to go down and be sure that nothing was falling apart in the tunnel, you know.
The tunnel had been there how long?
I don't know how long it'd been there,
But it
but
was old.
it was old. And it was one of the original sewer tunnels that was
For the city of
for
Detroit?
the city of Detroit, yeah.
Is it still functioning?
Oh, yeah.
No kidding.
Handles all the sewer water from drainage water and that.
Wow. That is something, isn't it?
Yeah. So that was,
So on the
Yeah.
road building part, what actually, were you laying cement, or were you doing, did everybody do everything, or did you run a bulldozer, and there was always so much earth moving?
yeah. Well, after, I guess my main job was, I got to be a senior inspector on things, so all I did was just oversee. We usually had a crew of maybe 6 or 8 inspectors that were taking care of each individual job that was going on. Like if it was a sewer project, you had an inspector to watch that things were going right.
So you read the blueprints and knew if it was
Right.
being done correctly?
Doing right, and be sure
Oh,
the
wow.
guys, so. It was, you know, from pouring concrete, you always had an inspector there to be sure that, even though the contractor basically is honest, that they're always looking for a shortcut.
Mhm.
So you need somebody there to be sure that
Yeah, I
it's
imagine.
done.
Huh.
So it was
So how many years did you work for the State Department, the Highway Department?
33,
33 years.
yeah.
So you retired in what year?
89.
89, wow.
In 83, we were working, at that time the highway, interstate program was finished.
Mhm.
So we ended up starting back doing maintenance on roads.
Mhm.
And so I was working in Northville. We had an office in Northville. And we're doing, overlays, pavement overlays and stuff, painting, bridge painting.
Mhm.
And I kept trying to, I was going to get transferred up north, back home, you know.
Yeah.
Finally in 83, they said, okay, we're going to transfer you up here north. So I got transferred to Prudenville.
Oh.
So I finished out the rest of my highway career up here.
Yeah. Well, great.
Yeah.
So 6 years we had up here.
Yeah, it was kind of neat because we did, you know, a lot of the roads around here,
Mhm.
like St. Helen. I mean, I guess they're going to redo St. Helen this year,
Oh, are they?
the street, and we did the original. That was back like in 85, I think.
Yeah.
And then, you drive over to Curran, you know, and there's 20 miles there that we did, you know.
Mhm.
And then Alpena, like from Harrisville north,
Oh.
we did a lot of work in there
On 23.
on 23.
Neat.
So when you drive around, say, oh, well, I did this. And
Yeah, that's got to be a very nice feeling.
yeah, it is. And I never got bored on the job. It was a great
Yeah.
job.
Good. So in 83, you purchased this property then, or what? Or is that something that your family had?
No, we had, of course, we would come up on weekends to my mother's and
Mhm.
spend a weekend, or, you know, it's the weekend. And after, you can only stay with your folks for just
Right.
so long. And our friend Bill Cameron at that time, they had started a subdivision down by Stackert Bridge,
Oh.
in that little subdivision in there. And Bill had bought a couple of lots and built a house down there. So we looked, and he'd built a little A-frame.
You mean on DeWitt Trail?
No, this would be before
Oh,
DeWitt.
this-
Before you get to the
before you
bridge,
get to the bridge,
there's
okay.
a road that turns to your left, goes down in there. And so we bought that A-frame down there, and we stayed
Oh.
there for, bought that, I can't remember when, about 68, I think, something, 65.
Oh, so way prior to your coming up in 83.
Yeah. So we'd come up there on weekends and that, and then this Bill came out here and bought 20 acres, and then he told me about this 20.
Mm.
So we bought that and
So
sold
who
it.
did you buy this from?
We bought it from Eli Martinson,
Oh, okay.
and that was in 70, I think we bought it, 71. And then we started building in 72.
Oh, great.
So it was, we had it pretty well built by the time we moved up here.
Uh-huh.
We lived in the basement. I finished the basement off, and then we just worked on
By the time you moved up here in 83.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, it sure is a lovely home. My gosh. All the nice woodworking. So, and you said Bill Cameron kind of helped you build this, or
Yeah.
or design it or something?
Yeah, we kind of laid it out, and he always said it was designed on a matchbox.
Uh-huh. That's how he worked, though.
Yeah. But yeah, I'd come up on, when I come up on the weekends, he was building houses. He was a contractor at the time, and he'd have his houses roughed in where he needed, getting ready to put the rafters up. So when I'd come up on the weekend, the first thing Saturday morning was we'd put rafters up on his house and
Oh, for gosh sakes.
and throw some sheets on, and then he'd stop on the way home and we'd work on the house here.
Uh-huh.
For a little
Oh,
while.
for heaven's sakes.
So,
Yeah, he built a lot of homes in this
yeah,
area
he did. Yeah.
over the years. It's very, very good. He built quite a few in Brookside subdivision.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's Octagon one on the river.
River.
Yeah, that's neat. And the one he's living in too was neat.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go back to your school years. Were you active in any sports?
No.
No, you were busy working.
Yeah, I was busy working. We did play basketball. The last year, senior year, I played basketball a little bit. I was trying to think at the time, Coach Haight was in the service then. And I tried playing basketball, but work kind of had too much to do with it.
Yeah. Who was the coach?
Well, Coach Haight started, and then I can't remember. It seemed like there were, right up, I can't remember
Can't remember. Yeah.
who was the coach.
Do you remember if you had a yearbook when you were in high school?
That's what we're looking for.
You had one.
Yeah.
We're trying to find out when the first ones were.
First year book?
Yeah, first year books.
Yeah, we got, I'm with the Alumni Association.
Oh,
so
okay.
That's what we're looking for, is the books. I think 44 is the one we're missing, and 42, if I'm not mistaken.
Maybe they didn't do one in 44. Who knows?
Yeah,
Would you
that's
remember
what-
them doing one?
I don't remember them doing that.
Oh, maybe that's why, maybe they didn't do
Didn't do
one. Because you think you'd remember it if they did.
Yeah, it seemed like it would.
Yeah.
I don't know, sometimes you wonder,
Oh,
wonder
gosh.
what's what there, but,
So who are some of the other teachers you might remember in addition to Mary Walker?
oh, when our first years, when we had, Iva Jane Price was our English teacher.
English? Okay, we'd like to portray her for that cemetery walk. So.
She was a great teacher. She was strict, but she was good.
Learned a lot from her.
Yeah.
She made you dye your eyes and cross your teeth, get the commas in
Yeah.
the right place.
Yeah, there were different things.
Was there? Did she also teach? If you say she taught English, did she teach a lot of literature?
I think English literature was
Or the main thing?
the main thing in that. And then she was principal too for a while there. And then we had Earl Haight. Of course, he got in the Army right away after he got here, so we didn't have him for too long. And then Bill Ingleson was our teacher.
What did he teach?
He taught history.
He did.
Seemed like, yeah.
Oh, for heaven's sake!
He
He must have been fairly young.
was.
Right out of college?
I think he was right out of college. You know.
Who was a math teacher? Oh, Earl was. No.
Earl, there was a man, I was trying to think of what his name was. Compton. His name was Compton. But we only had math to the ninth grade, and then they didn't have any math after that.
Really?
And it kind of shorted a lot of the kids that were graduating because they needed the math to graduate. And we had to take extra courses to get the credits to graduate.
Yeah, it seems like there's something about that the Roscommon school, if you wanted to go to like the University of Michigan, the accreditation wasn't quite there,
there.
for Roscommon, from the I wonder when they corrected that.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But I know there are several teachers, I want to say like taught algebra, but they weren't, I don't want to say qualified or whatever,
Well,
but
it must not have been advanced enough
it
for
wasn't,
it to,
yeah. But I know
meet the criteria for the accreditation.
it kind of hurt because there wasn't,
Well, I remember
didn't have the math to do
Mary Walker Lockery saying that Woody had thought he wanted to go to U of M, which I guess he didn't, but because of that, or was it her son Mike? Anyway, when I finished school at it must have been her son, chose to go to Houghton Lake to get his diploma because then he would qualify for the college. Yeah. So there's a lot
yeah, I
to
think
all
that's,
that.
yeah, I think that's what happened
Yeah.
there. 'Cause
Okay, I'm gonna go back to your grandpa Charles White and Gertrude for a minute. That was your mother's mother and dad.
Mhm.
They came to this, were they immigrants to America? Or were they born here?
They were born here. They were born